Hello and welcome to this episode of the Reset Podcast. I'm your host, Laura Munoz, CEO of the Cultural Communications Agency, The Flash. Each episode, I bring on a different business leader who's doing some game-changing work. And today's episode is no different. I am so excited to have Jon Morris, who's the founder and CEO of Nowhere and the Windmill Factory. We're going to talk about all things event experience and the transitions from virtual to live and back and forth. It's going to be a great conversation. Take a listen. Hey, Jon.
Hey, how's it going, Laura?
Good. We've just been chatting away about the world isn't crazy as it is and continues to be that way.
Indeed.
And excited to kick this off. So first question always stays the same on a podcast, and I'm fascinated to see what your answer is going to be. So Jon, what was your first job?
My first job was a paper boy. I delivered the newspaper as a young kid. My brother and I shared a paper route that took us each about an hour. It was probably like a 2.5 hour paper route that we split down the middle, and then we'd rotate times. And I'd ride a bike or a skateboard through Berea, Kentucky, and deliver the Richmond Register newspaper across the town.
Awesome! And how long did you do that for?
Oh, a couple years on and off. My brother and I did it for a couple years. It started as a summer job, and then we just kept going, and for arcade money. And we used to get paid, and then at the end of payday, we'd go to the little drugstore and get candy and play video games.
That sounds like an idyllic childhood. I feel like there's like a warm and fuzzy story behind that, where it's just like getting the local store and playing workout. Yeah,
totally. It was like small town Kentucky in Berea, Kentucky, which is the folk and arts craft capital of the state. And my dad worked as a campus minister at the university there, and my mom was a social worker. And it was very Americana, small town South, but with a really artistic and accepting culture. It was an idyllic place to grow up. I mean, I was very blessed.
Awesome. All right. So we go from literally the most analog thing in the world, delivering papers as a young kid, to the off the wall, incredible stuff that you do now. How does that journey happen? Like, what is that story?
Well, and many jobs in between, from there, my history from there, delivering papers, and then it was into theater for about, almost 25 years. I was a clown at Cirque Du Soleil and a performer at Forza Bruta, and really a lover and creator of mass scales, spectacle driven theater. And that work and that I had a lot of athletic ability growing up, and then I kind of translated that into a career in physical theater, which really took me around the world and back again, and really it really seeded this love of crafting moments and experiences that bring audiences to life. And I worked in a lot of really experimental theater over the years, and then I really wanted to take those moments that were happening inside the walls of theater and move those beyond the walls of theater into unexpected places. And that's how we got to the Windmill Factory and manufacturing sublime experiences for the last 12 years. From everything from, Nine Inch Nails festival tours to public art pieces to AWS and Google I/O giant spectacles. And really continues to this day through our work with Nowhere, in really trying to deepen and excite human connection with technology as a tool to create this wonder and this magic that humans can bring to other humans.
I love how you just go, oh yes, I was a clown for Cirque Du Soleil. And I was because that's what folks do who come from being a paper boy in Kentucky. It's like, yeah.
I mean,
how does one become a clown at Cirque Du Soleil?
Well, that's I grew up athletic. As I was saying, I was a springboard diver in college. So I was a champion springboard diver, which, and I was always doing theater and doing diving in college. And I found that I could apply my physical skills, that I was able to do backflips and, crazy slides and jumps, and I could apply those to the stage. And that's how I was my best actor, because I wasn't always great with words or with text or dialogue, but I could always do something with my body that could excite and engage an audience. And so that led to more physical styles of theater, and into training and in clown, and this quest for humor, and this quest for creating delight and wonder in people. So, I guess through through my athletic ability, and then a love of theater, comes the clown.
Right, because that's as one does. Like, okay,
Also, I just
so
love to make people laugh. I mean, who doesn't love to make people laugh?
well, that's the
So
thing. I mean, well, obviously that's a huge part about it. So, like, where did you get to go? What shows in Cirque du Soleil did you end up getting to be a part of?
I had auditioned for Cirque du Soleil for the water show in Vegas, and then kept in touch with them for many years. And um, uh, eventually, this one project came about that they thought I was perfect for, which was kind of this character clown hybrid, to create this new type of immersive theatrical experience. This is before the word immersive was thrown around quite liberally. And it was to really, for their brand, to try to create a bar and lounge experience, that would have performance all interwoven into it. And so we created a project called Le Bar de Bout du Monde, and we brought this onto in partnership with Celebrity Cruises, and we took over an entire space on a Celebrity Cruise Line ship. And then there were 5 of us who were character clowns who would do a solo performance each night, and an entire bar that was crafted as the Cirque bar on the ship. And so throughout the evening, there might be a triple layer projection screen that evolves into this underworld, underwater gardener character that I played, which then was in this underwater garden, and then came out into the audience and did a lot of gags with the audience. So that was just briefly a little a little bit about that project. It's kind of a wacky and wild part of Cirque du Soleil, where they were trying to really see where their brand could expand. And this was right before they started doing the Beatles show, or the Michael Jackson show, and where they really started to go in these different directions. They were really experimenting and trying to see what could be done. And I think that led to really about a lot of my sentiments as a creator, of really trying to push into new territories, with audiences and performers, and how they can engage in totally different ways. And it was a really interesting step on my path, to see these 2 pretty large organizations in Royal Caribbean and Cirque du Soleil trying to figure out how to create something that was quite innovative and experimental.
Awesome. So you're gonna do all that, and then because you're like, "God, I'm bored now. Let me go and try and create the Windmill Factory in nowhere." So talk about those 2.
Yeah, it is that. I think that might sum up my whole artistic process. Is like, okay, I'm bored. Next, what's next? And I think that you find this resonance, I think, within all artists, is this curiosity to create the new, or to create a new experience, and that definitely resonates within me. And in our first works at Windmill, I was really looking for how to bring, how to go beyond the walls of theater, um, and really find ways that you could deepen human experience and bring people together in new and exciting ways. And especially with Nowhere, we have always at Windmill looked for the project that we could do that would scale, because we often, our work was very one-off, or very niche. We'd create an installation for a music festival that would only be on for one weekend, and it would be epic, and everybody'd be like, "Oh my gosh, that's incredible! It's incredible!" But the budget was just too massive to do that on a larger scale. And so we've always been trying to find that project that would take our work, and the beauty, and the feelings that we're able to create within the work, and scale it. And when Nowhere came about, and when well, back up just a second. When the pandemic hit, we were crafting an in real life experience that was essentially a 48-hour theatrical journey for Eli Pariser's and Talia Stroud's Civic Signals, which is a movement to create healthier digital spaces online. And we had done 5 months of research into how to mix metaphors between in real life creators like city planners and architects and engineers, from the Facebooks and the Twitters, the new town halls, the new public squares of today, and see if we could mix these metaphors between digital and physical to create healthier spaces online. And so we'd done 5 months of research into this, and then the pandemic hit, and this event was supposed to be last year in May, and it got delayed indefinitely. They challenged us with, hey, can you create that digitally? And we started digging into the tools that were out there that would do the things that a windmill project would do, which was to really have humans first within a gathering, and the human connections and the meetings in the lobby, and the water cooler talks, and the after hours and the party, and all the things that make events wonderful and great, that keep us going, flying around the world to see, to attend these events. We couldn't find the tools that really would allow us to do what we love to do. And so, we kind of looked at the landscape, and we were like, oh no, this is not good. This means we're going to have to create it. And then we set off. We like many times in our track record at Windmill Factory, we've created new technologies, in order to deepen and excite human connection. And this was no different. And we thought, wow, well, actually, this could be the tool that we create that's able to scale our work and is able to bring the magic that we are able to do in real life to a digital global experience, where anyone in the world could, with a computer and internet connection, can be able to experience the magic and wonder of an event that we would create in real life, and really, hopefully, crack open, someone's dreams, and really give them a new perspective on life and a new way of looking at things, so that they might be inspired to make the world a better place.
Wow. That's incredible. So what's sort of like the 1 minute explanation of nowhere? Because what I was so struck by was the ability to sort of like, one, kind of go into nowhere, and be transported and not feel like I'm stuck in Zoom. I'm just in somewhere else. And that was comforting after a year of being stuck on Zoom in a tiny little square.
Yeah. And I think that's a lot of the feeling that so many of us were feeling during the pandemic, is we were stuck in these digital tools that haven't really been developed to the point that give the agency that we would want on the internet, to be able to navigate around and see and relate with other people. So I'll take a step back and say that, nowhere is a 3D gathering tool that allows you to drive around your video feed in beautiful 3-dimensional environments, so you can have more naturally feeling events. It's a browser-based tool, easy drop-in with one link, and then you basically get to drive around your video feed like a little spaceship TV, and you get to do all the fun and exciting things in VR worlds without a clunky headset that goes over your face, and without the barrier to entry. And so instead of an avatar, in this beautiful video game landscape, you have your video feed, and you can meet other humans, and there's spatial audio, so you can have a multiplicity of conversations in different places. So unlike being trapped on the Zoom happy hour where one person is going on and on and on and on and on and on and on, you can just sneak away and go have a different conversation with the person you're really excited to see or to be with.
Awesome. Yeah, and that's the thing, it is such a refreshing experience in like playing with like the different stages, and going into like all these customized rooms. Like I was in New York City, like what looked like I was just overlooking, the water tower, and you could see into the city. But like it was nice to actually have that experience where you're cracking the code of what AR and VR feel more reasonable for normal people, because
Mm,
like we both are in the business of building all kinds of crazy off the wall things that our clients want us to dream about. But we
totally.
also know sometimes that is limited into the types of people who can be experience that. So like if we're doing a VR experience, I'm gonna have to send the headset, load up the headset with the software, and do
Totally.
and answer all the questions about it. Click the joystick in your hand, da 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 da. And this is just like click here, go to Chrome, and now let's play. Um, and
Totally.
that's a game changer because it makes this more accessible to all. One of my big things about event platforms that has driven me crazy in the past year is that like none of it was built by event people or experienced
Right.
people.
Right.
Like, and
Yeah.
you can tell immediately that it wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And the thing that I always remark on in creating events, and you know this so well, it's like, the people make the place. And then places dictate behavior. So you're not going to plan like the cocktail party in the boring conference room, which is essentially what we've been trying to do all this last year on Zoom. Zoom is an incredible tool, and it works so well. But like to try to schedule a party or a networking event on a 2D flat screen where you have no agency to move around, is quite banal. And you would never do that as an event planner. You would never say like, oh, let's do the let's do the party in the really boring ballroom when we could have the possibility of having an exciting cabaret, with
yeah.
incredible cocktails and drinks and everything. And if we can't, and digitally, you don't have biology drivers, you don't have like cocktails and food. You can send care packages and whatever and whatnot to spice it up. But what we can control is how it feels to be in these environments. And like you're saying, is like we hosted in New York City, and so you build a whole world that fits the theme of the event that you want to build. Whether it's flying over the Swiss Alps, or in a psychedelic, Blade Runner 2049 world, or it's in a forest, and meditative. And in nowhere you have the ability to host in these places that help you support the event that you're trying to put on, so that the places actually do help you by dictating your behavior online. Um,
And it's fascinating. I mean, honestly, that's like the best encapsulation of what I've been saying about the event platform is that, like, yeah, you want to do the stupid party in the break room, and I want to take you to the south of France.
yeah,
and,
exactly. Yeah.
and you keep, and no matter how hard I try and tell you that, like, the event will be better if we go to the south of France, you're like, no, the
Yep.
break room is fine. We'll have like this store bought ice cream cake. What's wrong? Um,
I
and
mean,
that's the difference.
how can you compete with the south of France? I mean, come on, who doesn't want to go to Cannes? Rather than the water cooler.
And then making those experiences feel so real. So, like, what's that been like for you over the past year in terms of getting folks on board and getting clients to try this out and do it for real?
It's really interesting, this journey into digital. I've been saying, it seems like you have to invite about 5 times the amount of people who are actually going to show up, because I think that there isn't an awareness that there are tools like this out there. And then once people get in and they've experienced nowhere, they're like, oh, when can I come back? What can I do? Oh, I want to host this, or can I create this? And it really turns them into kids in a sandbox. But getting them in the door the very first time is actually been quite a challenge. And I think it's because we have a very clear expectation of what the tools that are available on the internet, and there hasn't been much innovation um, in really creating tools that feel good for us to socialize in on the internet. Um, so it's been a real challenge in that capacity, because you know having created mostly all live in my history as an artist, like now looking at it through a different lens with different rule sets, and having to create within those limiting factors of digital, and find ways to push and pull and still bring out the humanity within the digital has been such a great challenge. Um, and it's been really a delight to see the response of people when they do get in, because it really does. It's such a game changer. I mean, like when you came in, you had the same response. I think you were just so delighted to have found a tool that feels like there's a hope and a possibility for the future of digital events.
Yeah, because I think we have to acknowledge that it's not going away. I mean, as much as we all love live events, the
Yep.
hybrid virtual experience is not going away because we've all discovered, oh wait, more
Yeah.
people can show up. Like, look at
Yeah.
that. Who
Yeah.
knew?
Yeah, and different types of engagement, where what we're really trying to focus on with Nowhere is like how is digital technology strengthen an event? How does it strengthen this? How can we use technology as a tool to make to make the event better in ways that digital can make it better? And not trying to recreate what happens in real life, by putting by putting chairs and tables in an environment where you can't even use them. You're not going to sit your video feed down on a chair. you know, and so really trying to lean into digital and lean into the benefits of it, so that when we do start to come back to real life and we have these hybrid events. You can imagine the hybrid event of the concert or the conference where it's live. There's a certain amount of tickets sold for live. Also, the Nowhere experience, where the journey for the Nowhere participants and ticket holders is different, and it's enhanced by the digital technology. It's not it's not less. It actually just leans into what technology does better, and so that the people that can't afford to fly around the world, but still want to attend the event, have the possibility of doing that. And then I think our goal with that is to make the digital experience is so great and so differentiated that the live attendees also want to participate in the digital experience and can do that as well throughout the hybrid event.
And it's so true. Thinking about all the really incredible stuff you've done, talk to me about a time where you had a challenge, like, there's no way I'm going to make this happen. And then you did.
Yeah, great question. Oh, so many times, Laura. So many,
On a daily basis, I know.
so many times. I mean, I think that in these kind of hybrid worlds where you're always a person like us who love to push the boundaries and love to love challenges and love to create new and exciting, ways of engaging audiences. There's always something that feels impossible. And there's always the impossible dream. Don Quixote, it's the reason why I founded Windmill Factory, is the crazy soldier who wants to battle windmills and believes in the impossible dream. And I think that there's so many that I can think of. I'll say throughout my career, I've been so blessed by having such a strong community coming from my time in the theater of amazing artists, engineers, uh, uh, performers, business leaders who really have coached and been there for us, and always been there when we've gotten stuck, so that we've been able to call a friend, and get out of things, and I can think of numerous occasions, but I think that strength and that core of community allows us to keep dreaming bigger and bigger, and really find ways out when we're stuck, because I this saying, the way out is through, is not always true. I think that taking a pause and taking a step back and asking yourself, is there a different way of doing this? Is there a new way of doing this? Is there a more fun way of doing this? Is there the wrong way what would be the wrong way of doing this? And then really leaning on the resources you have at hand, whether it be community or others, to really help you through, has been what we have done.
Awesome. That's so true. Okay, so thinking about us now, obviously it's been an insanely stressful year. Event people are notorious workaholics. We're also crazy people.
Truth.
Which is why we all get along. Usually, you always know other event people. You automatically immediately feel a kinship because, like, we've all been there.
Yeah. Yes.
But like this year's also been ridiculous for us all. what have you done for your self-care?
Oh man, that is a great question. And it does mark a big shift for my lifestyle and my business, like which is nowhere. We've always been project to project at Windmill Factory, and really had a really nice lifestyle. Um, and it's always made me travel and adventure, and going places. It was such a staple of that. And with nowhere, it's been so consistent on the computer all the time, every day is like being in production week. And it's been really important for me to find ways of exercising. And I hate exercising. I was always an athlete, so I always had games to play to keep me in shape, or a performer, and I always had performances to keep me in shape. And so I've been forced to really learn to develop a practice of waking up early, getting on my bike, riding it, to somewhere in the city, and doing a little workout where I get a perspective looking out on the city of New York. And typically it's in a park in Williamsburg or in Greenpoint, where I'm able to like get outside myself and look at this perspective of the city and really get inspiration from the megaplex of New York. And also sweat. Like if I don't sweat, after 2 days, I get really irritable and not happy. So that's been my main go-to, is bike riding and a 7-minute workout app.
Awesome. Honestly, strangely enough, bike riding is the same thing for me. I bought a
cool.
bike in July last year because I was like, I need to do something. And honestly, it's been the best thing I've ever done. And I literally do the same route, like on a Saturday. But like there is something, I did the West Side Highway because I'm not riding my bike through Manhattan because I'm not crazy.
You'll get there. You'll get there.
I don't know about that. But like it has just been this really nice way for me to like chill and reset. And I similar, like I'm always on a plane from place to place to place. And to like now be on this like flat surface riding this bike is like what? But honestly, it worked. And similar, like I do take exercising very seriously. Like I was actually doing a conference all last week, so I didn't work out the whole week, and I just was like, ugh. By the time the week kind of came to an end, and I realized that like it is something for me. But I'm not moving around. If I'm not exercising, I am crabby Laura, and crabby Laura doesn't do the deal. So it has to be the thing that you put yourself first, and whatever that might be, whether it is that meditation, whether it is that exercise. Like I think especially for us insane event people, that we really have to prioritizing our health and relaxing and breathing is necessary for us, especially as we embark on what's going to happen in the next 6 to 12 months for our industry.
Totally. And especially as typically event people are social beings who, my go-to for exercise was also like basketball, and or a yoga class. And there was none of that. There was no collective activities being, done. And so really, reevaluating how I was able to get exercise was a big part of this pandemic.
So true. It's very strange. Like event people, again, you're naturally social, and you're like, oh wait, there aren't people anymore.
But where are my people at?
Although you realize actually this is kind of okay. I don't actually mind this. Leave me alone. Once a row. I realize that I fully embrace the fact that I am an extroverted introvert, which means when necessary, I can totally be the life of the party, master of ceremonies, but I'm also happy being at home and watching Netflix. Leave me alone. It's fine.
And is that where you gain energy? Is from films and TV shows? So you talk about like giving energy and then gaining energy from activities.
I think it's a little bit of both. I feel like, it's funny that I can sort of turn on a dime and be like super low energy, but then like if I need to be on, like there is a really weird internal switch of like a little listen to some music or like watch something that makes me laugh and then go up on virtual stage and then crush it. So it's always been fascinating to me how I'm able to do that. I don't know how,
Mm,
but I think you're right. It is sort of like where the energy sort of kind of pulls in from, and then
mhm.
you sort of push it back out. So it is pretty interesting to see how that works. But again, I've met people. We all are the same. Like,
Yeah.
it's like I would love for someone one day to do like a kind of comprehensive study on like what makes people event people,
Yeah.
because it's a very very unique, different sides of the universe, and different types of experiences and different types of college degrees and things that you've done. But like if
Mhm.
you get a bunch of event people all in a room, you're talking to the same person. You're like, wait.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
uh,
I think there's one thing that I always notice that unifies event folks, and I think a lot of theater people are event folks as well. And I think it's a very similar um, unifier, which is get energy from creative problem solving,
yeah.
because
Hmm.
there's always a million problems to solve and in a minimum amount of time on a minimal budget, and it really just ramps up the humans who are really who gain energy and who are really good at seeing a big picture and being able to solve quickly all the creative problems.
Exactly. I think, oh, you this is the problem. Oh, let me fix this for you. Like I ate this for breakfast.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
like,
I don't know if it's as good. I did, like, talking to my wife, I don't think this is as good for relationships. This is like a classic male trope of like, oh, I can fix that. Within
yeah.
relationships, definitely different rule sets for
Different
relationships.
roles, different roles of relationships. Same. My boyfriend has the same thing. He's like, okay, don't. I'm like, yeah, like different neck of the woods.
I wonder if
So
that's
last question.
universal for event people, that in their relationships they're the fixers. They're always trying to problem
Always.
solve, because they say that's a male stereotype, but if you're noticing that as a female,
Yeah.
that's interesting. That'd be an interesting survey to do.
Yeah, it very much is a similar thing because, like,
Mm.
I want to fix everything because that's what I do on a daily basis. Uh,
Right. Yeah, totally.
and last question for you: do you have a give and or an ask of the audience?
Mm. Well, I think that I will say that we are, launching an ambassador program with Nowhere, where we're really trying to create the metaverse with these really exciting people. And I imagine your listeners are very exciting people, and I'd be happy to invite them into the ambassador program. If you go to the letter U R and then nowhere.com and just click sign up to host, then you'll get through to us, and we can invite you to the ambassador program, and you can start hosting in Nowhere. And that's my give to your audience.
Awesome.
It's a wonderful place, and we'd love to have you guys join us.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. It's so much fun and super trippy and cool, and it's so much fun. We'll put the details in the show notes for folks to give it a try out and hopefully become ambassadors for Nowhere. Jon, I can just keep on chatting with you because
I know, right?
you're my kind of people.
Yeah, totally,
But it's such a delight, and I look forward to continuing the conversation, and just watching and seeing how Nowhere grows and dropping more of my clients in there for fun. So thank you so much for
totally.
joining me on the podcast today.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Awesome. And that is our show.
Whoop, whoop.